Sometimes you're just a fan at heart.
Yep.
And I think the same can be said for the Emmy Award-winning Ryan Clark, whose Instagram account caught our eye.
I saw that this morning.
The longtime Pittsburgh Steeler had this to say while watching Thursday Night Football's Flacco-sance.
Over. Can't be serious. Joe Flacco, dog, bro, Cleveland ruins everything. Joe Flacco, Jamar Chase going off. He didn't throw him 37 dang balls. T. Higgins, Yoshi Vaz, Chase Brown looking like Corey Dillon. And when did the offensive line learn how to block? They ain't blocked for nobody all year. We watched Joe Burrow get tore out the frame. Jake Browning get tore out the frame. T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward ain't get to the quarterback till late in the game. And then Joe Flacco was running the ball. This man is ancient. Bruh, I ain't like him since he came in the league and he was damn Baltimore Raven. He'd have been the Cleveland Brown. He'd have been the Cincinnati Bengal. The man spent his whole adult life trying to terrorize the Pittsburgh Steelers. And right when we could take hold of the AFC North, be at the top of the dang AFC, he come and do this. The Browns ruined everything. They should have kept that man on the bench backing up Dylan Gabriel.
Yes. Ryan Clark here on the Rich Eisen Show. Bravo, sir. 10 of 10, no notes.
Spoken from the heart.
No notes, Ryan. No notes at all.
Yeah, that wasn't my finest analyst moment, Rich. That was like I was sitting in the same room I'm sitting in right now, and I'm watching Joe Flacco be the Joe Flacco that took the Baltimore Ravens to the Super Bowl. And it made me think about like what Coach Tomlin said about GM Andrew Berry from the Cleveland Browns. He's like, well, he must be smarter than me. He understood that Joe Flacco still had something. And if you go back to week 1, he threw for 290 yards against the Cincinnati Bengals. And now you see him with Jamar Chase, obviously T. Higgins, and what he's able to do with that team since about the second half of that first game against Green Bay. Nobody's going to want to play this offense, but I'm just more upset that the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't take that next step. Coming into the season with Aaron Rodgers, I thought to myself, okay, this is a playoff team. And then now you see them with the down AFC North. The AFC as a conference is not as strong as we thought it would be. And to lay an egg like they did last night defensively is unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, when Flacco pulled the ball and ran it for 12 yards, I audibly screamed. I audibly screamed out loud. And I was surrounded by other people, Ryan. I love this reaction. I'm bringing you back.
Rich,
here. I know.
Rich,
I get it.
I wanted to jump out of a first-story window because I didn't really want to harm myself that bad.
Yeah,
I just wanted the bruises. So I didn't want the full effect of what happened. But when that happens, even Kirk Herbstreit is like, wait, Joe Flacco pulled the ball? You see the whole team went to tackle the running back because ain't no way that that's going to happen. The energy that offense played with because they now have hope is all because of a young, looking at least, Joe Flacco.
So what does this tell you about the Steelers defensively? Because, again, this is a team that gave up over 30 points to the Jets, who I was wondering where that Jet team was while I was sitting in a booth in Tottenham 5 days ago. I'm like, I was just begging for. By the way, you were thinking of a first story window. I was looking out of the booth thinking, how deep is this drop? You know what I mean? What does this say about the Steelers defense right now? Moving forward.
First off, I'm sure it's a deep enough drop to where you won't run the 40 very fast. So we can't have that.
Correct.
That's an important moment for a lot of people. So we need that to happen.
Thank you.
Here's what it says. It makes you look at that game against the Jets, Rich. It makes you go back to the game against the New England Patriots, where if you remember, there were 5 offensive turnovers that helped and allowed the Pittsburgh Steelers to win that game. But Drake May and the New England Patriots were able to move the ball. I felt like Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator, found something in the pressure defensive packages we've seen on third downs or in passing situations, adding Patrick Queen to the rush, playing some man-to-man on the back end, using some disguise that's allowed them to get some one-on-ones. But last night, that was so difficult to do because of the matchups outside, which were supposed to be mitigated by adding a Darius Slay, by adding a Jalen Ramsey, and to a lesser effect, an Echoes that they acquired from the Jets. It was, from the X and O strategy standpoint, it was a whipping from Zach Taylor on Terrell Austin. But also, when we're just speaking about players making plays, the Jamar Chases, the T. Higgins, the Yoshi Vases, the Chase Browns, Noah Fant, they made more plays offensively than what we're used to seeing from the stars, like the TJ Watt, one of the highest paid players in the world, make. They didn't come up and show up in the most important times.
And lastly, on this subject matter, Ryan, before I pick your brain on the rest of the NFL, I hear it all the time from fans in Western PA whenever I cape for Mike Tomlin and saying that he's one of the best, and if he ever did somehow, some way part ways with the Steelers or vice versa, he'd be hired in 2 seconds flat. If he wanted to do that, he'd be great on TV as well. What do you say to those who are questioning Mike Tomlin's stewardship at this point in time, certainly off of a game like last night, Ryan?
Obviously, he's one of my closest friends in the business, a mentor to me, a big brother. Last night was disappointing for Mike Tomlin. This team is, I think, 0-7 on Thursday night in the AFC North, right? And so I know he's so smart. He's on every single detail. I know that's part of his preparation, right? What can I do differently to have my team prepared to play? And then it was the thought process in what are the adjustments defensively? How will we be prepared if we see something different or if something isn't working in the manner that it was supposed to be? And I didn't feel like this team was. And I think that's the most disappointing part about Thursday night, that there are many times where I look at Mike Tomlin and I understand his process and I don't put certain losses or certain statistics onto him. Last night's loss was. You got everything you needed and wanted out of Aaron Rodgers to put you up and give you an opportunity 31-30 late in that game. And he and Terrell Austin didn't make the adjustments late to get one stop, because that was all they needed, Rich, was one stop. And this is a very disappointing loss for a team that could have taken an incredibly strong hold on the AFC North and put themselves in play to host more than one playoff game when it came playoff time.
The Emmy Award-winning ESPN analyst Ryan Clark here on the Rich Eisen Show, Monday Night Countdown, every single show. It appears to be under the sun. Of course, the Pivot Pod as well, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk 4-2 teams, Ryan, because the Niners, Eagles, Seahawks, Lions, Rams are all 4-2 in the NFC. If you had to put your marker on only one of them, now obviously the Bucs are there at 5-1 and the Packers at 3-1-1, but those 4-2 teams, Niners, Eagles, Seahawks, Lions, Rams, you could put your marker on only one of them to make the Super Bowl. Which one would it be?
You want to say the easy, low-hanging fruit is the Philadelphia Eagles, because we've seen it, right? We've seen them change things, and we've seen them make the adjustments they need offensively going forward. But I'm going to say the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have a big problem at corner right now. There's no DJ Reed. There's no Terrion Arnold. I do think Amik Robertson is a good starting corner, and obviously nickel. I believe that team is the scariest when you're talking about the 4-2 teams. We understand what they can do from an offensive standpoint. They're getting healthier with Aleem McNeil returning into the lineup. Aiden Hutchinson is starting to come along and make some of those plays we watched him make early last season. I think getting those two corners back, and Kelvin Shepard, the new defense coordinator, first year at DC, having an opportunity to call all of this stuff, do everything he needs to do from a defensive side of the football, and watching an offense that's still explosive. And if not for a penalty called early on in that game with Jared Goff not being set, I think that game could be differently as well if that touchdown pass from David Montgomery counts. And so I think the Detroit Lions have a very strong case to make a Super Bowl run.
All right, then let's go to the AFC, where there are no fewer than now 6 4-2 teams. The Steelers, Chargers, Patriots, Bills, Jaguars, Broncos. Let's do the same thing. You can only put your marker on one of those teams. The Steelers, Chargers, Patriots, Bills, Jaguars, Broncos. Which one would it be out of the AFC to make this?
Well, I think the first thing that I'm probably not supposed to do, because I don't know what the line of questioning is going to be. Can I add the Kansas City Chiefs into that so I can make this answer?
They're 3-3. Sure, but go for it. Sure.
So I can make this answer really easy. I think that's the team to beat. I think that's the team to beat again, Rich. And I know that feels like an easy out, but I was saying this after their 0-2 start without Xavier Worthy. I'd never seen Patrick Mahomes play with so much passion, with so much intention. You can tell that he's set to prove something, and he understands how well he needs to play. Also thought Steve Spagnuolo on the back end, without Justin Reed, who is now in New Orleans, was just trying to figure some things out with a rookie corner that's played a ton of time. Jaden Hicks, a second-year player at the safety position, just figuring out things from a chemistry standpoint, communication, and I believe that they're doing that. Add to that, in this week, you are adding Rashee Rice, who was one of the best receivers going into last season before the ACL. We saw him ascend as they went to win a Super Bowl in his rookie year. I think this offense is going to be extremely explosive, especially with the quarterback under center, run game getting going. That would be the team I'd pick. But if you give me a 4-2 team, I still think it's the Buffalo Bills. 8 people injured against the Atlanta Falcons, one of the best players in the world in Josh Allen, and in my opinion, a stellar head coach. I think they right the ship and figure some things out.
Well, and again, you know how it works in our business. If you're on a bye week, it's as if you don't exist, and there's no reason to have a conversation about them. But let's do it here since I have you. The 1-5 Ravens. Are you off them completely? Are they fork stuck? What do you think?
You know, Ryan? Like that's the difficult thing is, right? Lamar Jackson can come back, and this team can go on a run, win 8 of their last few games, or 9, and find a way to get into the playoffs. I just don't believe the way this roster is constructed, the way that they're executing, that they can win big playoff games. I do believe that at the end of the season, we're going to be looking at them and saying to ourselves, okay, where do they fit into this picture? What sort of wild card team could they be? Or with the Pittsburgh Steelers losing this week, how do they have the ability to close that gap? Because they do have 2 games in week 14 and week 18 to play down the stretch. So I believe that the Baltimore Ravens do factor in. I just don't believe they're as big of a threat to win the Super Bowl as we expected them to be coming into this season. I think Lamar Jackson has to take too much on his shoulders. And now with him being injured, Zach Orr's defense not playing at a high level, I just can't see them beating the best of the best in playoffs.
I kind of think that they're going to be that team, Ryan, that we're going to be on our collective shows, our respective shows in December saying, don't let them in the tournament. Do not let them in. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be on the cusp. They'll be right there in the mix for the 7 seed maybe. Or, they do have both games with Cincinnati and Pittsburgh still remaining. And their one win is in division. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not ready to bury them yet. I'm just not ready to bury the Ravens yet.
I think it's about perspective too, Rich. You've been doing this for so long, and you understand it. I'm not looking at them from the perspective of like how do they get back in the fight. I'm looking at them from a perspective of where I thought they'd be in the fight at this point. Right, I believe that we were talking about the best roster in football at the beginning of the season. I don't believe that personally anymore. But you are absolutely correct. I think then history will come into play, Rich. And I'll ask you this question: even if the Baltimore Ravens are hot headed into the end of the season, how will you look at past and previous playoff failures as to how dangerous you believe they could be if they do, or if and when they do get into the dance?
Certainly if they got to go to Arrowhead, as you point out. I mean, the 3-3 Chiefs do not look like a 500 team. And then, of course, you mentioned the Lions. The Bucs are playing them on Monday Night Football. A massive game that you're going to be all over in a couple of days. A massive game. I look forward to that one. Big time.
Yeah, I think that's huge, Rich, because Baker Mayfield playing like an MVP. I think Todd Bowles should be getting Coach of the Year sort of conversations, not necessarily recognition right now because it's early. Just the way that they execute in the stretch, the way they execute in 2-minute drills all sorts of critical football moments. I think that is extremely important, and it tells a ton about the way that they prepare each and every week. I'm excited to see this game on the road against a very good Detroit team that will be coming off of a loss against the Kansas City Chiefs. So they'll be, locked in and ready to try to win this football game. I think this is going to be big because it has playoff implications into where a playoff game could be played if these two teams see one another again.
1,000,000%. Man, you never know what's going to happen. And I'm the perfect example of that. Never thought I'd be name-checked on the pivot for playing Cupid for Joe and Michelle Buck, as I was this past week. Never thought that'd be. I've known Michelle Beisner forever and a day, and Joe forever and a day. Had no idea I'd be name-checked on your top-notch podcast like I was. Ryan.
Hey, it was definitely fun. Obviously, when you study it and you realize that you had that connection. My job, as you know, because you host this show, is to not say the obvious thing that you want them to say, which that you were part of the love connection. So I thought that was cool. And before I go, I do want to say this. Yes. I was incredibly moved by your return to SportsCenter. Stuart Scott was a huge inspiration to me. He made me feel like I could do this job in my way. I think you're a legend as well in this. I think you're so gracious in the way that you treat new people in the game, whether they have accomplished anything or nothing, the way that you receive us all. And for you to show that emotion, that vulnerability, that openness, and also just give the immense credit that Stuart Scott deserves for what he meant to this business and all the lives that he's touched, and obviously touching your life. I just want to say thank you for allowing people who may have never seen Stuart Scott live to feel a little bit of how he affected us all. And, I didn't get a chance to say that to you. And since I had an opportunity right now, I wanted to take it.
I appreciate that. Did you ever, how often did you cross paths with Stuart? How often did you do that?
Not very often. Not very often.
Not
I did get an opportunity to meet him. I never really got an opportunity, to say that. But he is much like how I feel about the people I idolized growing up watching sports. In this business, I felt like there was no better person to do his job, but also nobody that showed someone like me that it was okay to be yourself as long as you put the work in, you prepared, and you respected the occupation in the way you were supposed to.
Heck yeah, he would love watching you, Ryan. He really would.
Yeah, so
he would love working with you. Just ask, SVP. He'll tell you the same thing. I know you're sitting on the set with him quite a bit. He'd tell you the same stories I would too. And
talks about him often.
Because as well we should. He's been gone over 10 years now. It's unbelievable. So the fact that I get emotional talking about it because the politics of my departure prevented me from being asked back to host SportsCenter. And then, so that robbed me of an opportunity to do it with Stuart again. And then cancer robbed all of us of him. And so when I sat on that set that night, and circumstances are now so much better with me and obviously our world, our Disney world together. It was absolutely something I had to do. I had to talk about him. I would think he would have done the same for me if our situations were reversed. And I definitely think about him all the time. He would love you doing what you do and celebrate your
means
ending,
a lot to me.
It's
that
the truth.
means a lot to me.
I'm not just saying that because you brought it up. Well, I look forward to seeing you in person. We'll cross paths real soon. Keep doing what you're doing, and I appreciate you saying yes. I'd love to have you back here anytime. Thank you.
Man, thank you so much, man. Safe travels. Enjoy the game.
You got it. And I look forward to the next Flacco Steelers game. I will be peeled. My eyes will be peeled on your Instagram, Ryan.
I think I'm gonna erase my accounts that day. I'm gonna delete them.
No. We just talked about you being you. We just talked about that. We just talked about being genuine. That was genuine. Thanks for the time, Ryan. You got it.
Man, you have a great one.
That's Ryan Clark, everybody, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. It's genuine.